What is up, people of the Extranet? Tyler here with Random Automotive, and today I'm going to show you how to do a oil change on your 19 through 24 or 25. I'm not exactly sure. Rav4. This Rav4 has the 2.5 liter naturally aspirated motor, non-hybrid, and here's what you'll need. Essentially, you will need some ramps, something to chalk off the back wheels for safety. When you pull up on the ramps, engage your park and brake. That way, there's no movement there. While there is a lot of ground clearance, there's just not quite enough, and I'm not a very big guy to even get under there, so we'll need that. We will need, of course, an oil drain pan, 0W16 oil. I'm using Lucas Full Synthetic, and a WL10332 Wicks filter, or the filter of your choosing. Sockets wise, of course, you'll need a funnel. Sockets wise, I've got a 10 millimeter, and I'll show you what that's for in a minute, and a 14 for the drain plug. In addition, you will need some sort of oil filter wrench, whether it be a belt style or something like that. We'll see if this works. So whilst you have a gigantic skid plate here, Toyota actually thinks about their customers, and they actually give you an access door. Behind this access door is your drain plug and your filter. So to get this off, you will need 1, 2, 3, 4 10 millimeter bolts, or you'll take these bolts out with a socket. All right, so whenever you get the access panel off, after taking the 4 bolts out, it's actually pretty easy to get to everything. Your oil filter's here. Definitely recommend a wrench or a socket to go on that because you do not have a lot of room to move around it. And your drain plug is here. They do recommend replacing the washer. I don't have it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not saying you don't do it, but it is what it is, and that's a 14. So let's go up top and get everything ready to drain the oil. Alright, so we'll start up top by removing our oil filler. We'll put that aside. Take that off early on so there is air flowing in this to help that oil drain out easier. Okay, so after removing the drain plug, we'll just let the oil drain out. Come up to your oil filter, and you can see it's a little beat up. I didn't have probably the proper tools as I stink my pinky in the oil to drain it, but once you get it loosened, socket's probably your best method. But if you don't have a socket, there's belt style. The belt style is a little too big for this, but at any rate, you'll want to loosen that. Go ahead and pull that out. Let it drain as much as it can. And there we go. Not too big of a mess, but, take the proper precautions. And we'll just let that kind of finish dripping from the oil pan and the area where the filter is. Alright, so with the new filter, it's just a little baby filter. It's tiny. We're going to put just a little bit of oil on the tip of our finger and rub around that seal a couple times, ensuring a good coating. And essentially what that's going to do is help that rubber gasket to seal better and make removal a little bit easier when we go to do this again. Alright, now that it's stopped draining, I'm going to move this out of the way just slightly. And you can see I've got my gasket and the washer and the drain plug back in. They say to replace this washer. I did not. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I would definitely recommend it at least every other time if you don't do it every time. So I've got that in there hand tight. I cleaned up the area so you see there's no drips or anything like that, that's kind of imperative because once we get everything back in the vehicle, we want to make sure that nothing's dripping and leaking. And our oil filter is a very simple process. It goes in just like it came out. For new as a car as this is, it's actually really easy to work on. And then what we'll want to do is we'll want to tighten these up. The torque specification calls for 30 pounds on this. It's like I tell folks, you do not have to, and of course I'll tighten it down more than I just did. You do not have to put these on so tight that you're never going to get them off. Don't take an impact to them. There's certain places that will do that. Definitely not recommended, because if you strip that out, that's a new oil pan, and that's not a job that you want to do. In addition, same for your filter. You want them all really tight, nice and snug, but they don't have to be put in so hard that, the next person or yourself are never going to get this back out. So let me tighten these down. Like I said, 30 on the drain plug here, and take best guess or whatever, but some people, that's what it calls for. Alright, now that everything's tightened up, I've cleaned a little area around the oil filter. And same for the drain plug. So now we're ready to put oil back in it. Alright, so I pulled the dipstick out and cleaned it off. That way we can check the oil when we start filling it. This particular engine calls for just over 5 quarts, so we're going to start with 5 and see how we look. Alright, so 5 quarts later, there may be a little residual in there that didn't quite get out, but as you can see, if it'll focus, there are 2 little dots, and it will not focus, but essentially, you want to see, and I'm leaning back on it a little bit, the oil will be at that second or uppermost dot that you're probably seeing a little out of focus there. So if you're there, you're in safe zone, so we don't need to add any more. We're actually pretty good. One thing to keep in mind about 016 oil, as you could just see, is it's very thin. So it has the tendency to want to sling everywhere. So we're pretty good there. Let's look on the bottom. We'll go ahead and pull this out, and I'm going to clean this mess up a little bit. Replace our oil cap. It is not a click style, so it's basically just line up, which it is now, and nice and tight. No click, no nothing like that. So now we'll look underneath. So oil leaks will be a little harder to see because this is clean oil, but everything looks dry there. Everything looks dry around the filter. That is why I left that cover off, just so we can check for any leaks like that, because you can't see any while this cover is on, so it's better to be safe than sorry. Now we're going to go ahead and start it up. You saw the orientation of the filter, how it was sideways. So there's really no way that you can pre-fill that oil filter. So there'll be a slight dry start, but it's such a small filter, I'm not too concerned with it. So let's start it up while we got it up here, and then we'll look underneath. So the cool thing about this car is there's no oil life reset. So when you actually do the oil, it resets for you. I don't know if it sees that the oil drained or whatever, but at any rate, it should come back up. Before it was saying maintenance required, but it should be good now. So we'll go ahead and start. Make sure that we have no oil light. And we do not. And let me clear that message. And no oil change needed, so it's already figured out that I changed the oil. Alright, and while she's running, you can see there's no leaks. Everything looks dry underneath here. The engine sounds a little clattery, but it actually, all of these 2.5s, they just sound like that from the factory. So everything looks good to go here. So putting this panel back on, there's a little tab right here. It'll slide underneath. All your screw holes will line back up. Put your screws in with your hands, and then just tighten them down. Alright, so these screws don't go super tight, just tight enough to where this holds this panel on there. You'll want to know that this little lip here sticks out. In the event that you have any oil leaking, it'll drain out there. And basically everything just kind of goes tight enough with a ratchet, and you're good to go. That was a very simple oil change on this newer car. If you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down in the description. Until next time, we'll catch you in the next one.